Day 1. The crash. 4546B. Just a little uncharted rock on the edge of known space. I don't know what hit us, but it hit us hard. As the Axiom plummeted to the surface, I was sure I would die in the unforgiving depths below, if not by impact, then by drowning soon after. I can't explain my luck, but somehow my pod landed in the shallows near enough the ruin of my ship that resources could be scavenged. With a repair tool, survival knife, and scanner in hand, I at least have a chance of surviving past today. For now, I search for fellow survivors and, with any luck, the means to survive past tomorrow as well. Day 4. Struggles and setbacks. My exploration thus far has yielded grim results. I have located a handful of escape pods also jettisoned from the Axiom, but the occupants thereof were all deceased upon my arrival. Each new empty tomb is but a reminder of how improbable my own survival was and still is. I don't take this for granted. I now endeavor to live life not just for myself, but for them. Fortunately, much of the flora and fauna on this planet has proven edible and helpfully identified by the scanner upon which I've come to entirely rely. Speaking of, I discovered blueprints that some of the crew possessed for cutting tools and a small submersible called a Seamoth, as well as the mobile construction bay needed to build it, that are my present goal to craft. Unfortunately, they require a large quantity of materials such as reactive acid, precious metals, a significant quantity of titanium, and, most vexing, diamond. The Seamoth should be easy enough to cobble together, but the cutter will be far more challenging. It is necessary, however, to traverse the locked-off depths of the Axiom, and my suit computer informed me of an issue with its reactor, so it must be a priority. With a steady means of conveyance, I will turn my sights to more versatile habitation. My repaired escape pod does the trick, but the sheer quantity of materials required to survive here means I have quickly outgrown it. I believe next I shall return to the ruins of the Axiom to see if any blueprints that could help with said goal exist. For now, I go forth with trepidatious hope. Day 9. Death, death, and more death. Firstly, I'd like to commit to the record that though I spent weeks aboard, not one single person, even one single time, had the decency to tell me the ship was called the Aurora and not the Axiom. There are moments where I'm glad they're all dead. I didn't mean that. I explored the Aurora as much as I could. Most importantly, my computer had not lied, and there was, in fact, a large and rather violent reactor breach. Thankfully, I had a blueprint for a radiation suit stored in my PDA, so with it, I entered the Aurora and I sealed the reactor leak. That's one crisis averted. The supplies I was able to scavenge there were significant. Since much of the ship was still inaccessible since I've yet to craft my cutting tool, I wasn't able to explore completely, but the crew quarters yielded many good finds. Then, something odd happened. My foot got stuck on some twisted bulkhead and I was overtaken by one of the persistent fires still raging within the ship. I remember blacking out, then somehow I woke up back at my escape pod. Returning to the ship, I found all of my supplies exactly where it happened, but I have no memory of how I freed myself and returned home. Perhaps a mystery of the planet itself. I know when I stare into the deep water, with its sublime horror veiled behind the colorful and crushing threat of death, it doesn't feel right. I swear, something is looking back at me. Day 11. Curiosities. I found a curiosity today. A pod on the ocean floor that contained a pre-constructed habitat builder, several teeth from one of the local species of fish creature, and a ruby. Within was a note that simply said, "You'll need these." I wonder if this means there are more survivors than just me on this planet. I'll be sure to keep my eyes open. I also discovered a depth module for my Seamoth, which will certainly help with exploration. It's odd. With the preponderance of aquatic gear we seem to have, it almost feels as though we were geared specifically to explore this planet. Which is something of a frustration, as I have still yet to locate a blueprint for any sort of permanent habitation, no matter how hard I look. For now, I have located several areas where the shallows give way to deeper waters, and with my upgraded Seamoth and evidence of deeper wreckage, I believe my path now leads further into the deep. Day 16. Deeper and stranger. In my effort to establish a base camp, I have found the blueprints for and constructed a moon pool, a scanner room, an upgraded Seamoth, and, finally, a laser cutter. But still no basic habitat! I feel like this ship was prepared for everything about this planet but living here. I found 2 more capsules. One was full of peepers and quoted this ancient children's book called Red Fish, Blue Fish. I respect it. I discovered 2 things in the course of my recent journeys: the location of the lost Life Pod 17 and my Seamoth's crush depth. The 2 were related. Also, the rate at which I'm discovering new technology is sometimes frustrating. For instance, I have a power cell charger but still no battery charger. At least I can make power cells from depleted batteries so they're not wasted, but I still would rather reuse them than have to keep going out for mushrooms. I also found a very deep cave where everything glowed. Something shot at me with its brain. I fled. The fauna on this planet goes stranger the deeper I plunge. I dread to think what lurks at the darker depths. One of those capsules I found had a stasis cannon. I wonder if that'll work on the brain baster. Discovery requires experimentation. Later, though. For now, I think with my laser cutter and improved skills, it's time to return to see what else I can find in the Axiom Aurora. Day 19. Imminent rescue. I've thought a lot about it, and I think I was wrong, and the ship's name was Axiom all along. I bet those silly dead people were lying to me. So, anyway, I went back to the Axiom with my shiny new laser cutter. With it, I was finally able to gain access to the cargo bay and found a wealth of scavengeable technology. I'm delighted to say that I can now make a mech suit. Watch out, brain blasters. I neglected to bring a fire extinguisher, which was a mistake. I did find a fire extinguisher, so it's a wash. Apparently, the quartermaxer of the Axiom got ripped off on duffel bags because you can fill them up, but you can't actually carry them. But hey, at least now I have several posters and no food. Small miracles. A slightly larger miracle, I got a radio transmission. Another ship is passing this way. It's called the Sunbeam. I received their transmission, but was unable to send a response. They did, however, send rendezvous coordinates on a small island near here that I previously hadn't explored, so I decided to do some recon. There is a massive building of a make I've never seen before here. An impenetrable energy field blocks the entrance and much of its infrastructure seems to run through the island. Truth be told, I've seen remnants of similar tech scattered across the ocean floor in my time here, but wrote it off as algae-covered flotsam that played a trick on my eyes. This, though, is in no way a trick of the eye. In the shadow of the building I sleep and wait. I am eager for the arrival of the Sunbeam. I know I have been here only a scant couple of weeks, but it feels so much longer already. When I think of the measures I've had to take to survive, scavenging the dead, outrunning predacious brain blasters, ravaging the local bladderfish population, I will never forget the things I have seen and done here. Dawn and the Sunbeam cannot come fast enough. Day 20.
Change course. Set thrusters to full.
Son of a bitch! Day 21. Rallying. I have rallied myself in the wake of an unimaginable tragedy. It's not every day you are first-party witness to the murder of presumably hundreds of people for as yet unknown reasons. At least now I clearly understand the circumstances that surrounded my arrival on this planet. I see only now how truly improbable my survival was. Now why can't I find any magnetite? There looks to be a building at the top of the alien laser island mountain. I believe my next steps will be to explore that building, establish a fob at around 300 meters, and find the materials to upgrade my Seamoth, which has been newly repainted and christened Zumi the First. And, as always, try to find a blueprint for a basic habitat. Day 25. Rise, the Subnautical Man. I found an island with balls. Upon making the discovery that land masses on this planet seem to shroud themselves with inexplicable fog, I managed to work out the location of a second such landmass. This one floats. On the balls. The ball island also finally showed me how to build a proper habitat. I wish I had found it weeks ago. Also, it seems a whole family of people died here, which is, admittedly, a bummer. There was some mention of a second facility these Degrassi graduates founded, so I'm going to keep an eye out for that. For now, construction has resumed. The new room has been a game changer. The ability to build indoor power plants has been a revelation. No longer bound to the limitations of the sun for electricity, I established a fob at 300 meters and, with some careful mapping and navigation, I have finally found what has eluded me. Magnetite. Things are progressing quickly. Zumi the First and my own diving gear have been upgraded significantly. The scanner room HUD upgrade has greatly improved my quality of life, and resource gathering is now significantly easier. While mining magnetite, I encountered a creature which was able to teleport me out of Zumi the First. I feel like I barely escaped with my life. Next on the adventures of the Subnautical Man, the quest to construct a Gundam and Sequest. Day 26. Failure of the Subnautical Man. I am overtaken by shame as I must admit my own foolishness. A re-examine of the landscape surrounding LifePod 12 has yielded startling results, to include a derelict habitat constructed by the Ball Islanders some years prior and a veritable trove of magnetite. To know that the substance that eluded me for so long was practically under my feet this whole time is an indictment of my own investigative skills like I've never experienced. Self-flagellation shall begin presently. I think I'll build a house here. Day 30. The New Voyages of the Subnautical Man. Why do I call myself the Subnautical Man? Nearly everything in this world is subnautical. If that's a constant here, would that not make me just man? It's hard to remember anything before the water now. I decided a more permanent habitat would be prudent. My initial dwelling was functional, but my needs regarding materials meant its longevity was questionable. I've chosen to leave it in place as a memento and struck out to greener, or rather, redder, pastures. My new home atop the corpse of Lipod 12 has made my day-to-day here far more amiable. Seabase Kick-Ass 1 is sprawling with multiple moon pools for docking Zumi the First and my shiny new prawn suit, Gypsy dang it. An indoor arboretum and observation deck rounds out this to a quite comfortable habitat. Add in wirelessly transmitted thermal energy and abundant local resources, and I'm stable for the time being. This is fortuitous. Now that I have solid ground beneath my feet, I've decided to investigate further the survivors from the wrecked Mongoloid starship degaussing. I've dived to my deepest depth yet in this pursuit. I've discovered several odd species of flora and fauna and, glory of glories, fissionable material. It's dangerous. Several of the large predatory creatures loiter near the abandoned degassed facility. I must be cautious. Day 34. The Subnautical Man gets brain blasted. One of the brain blasters teleported me from Zumi while performing my search, and I nearly didn't make it back. Channeling my favorite terrible father, I set Zumi for ramming speed and presented my counter-argument. It was a persuasive argument. Apparently, these things don't like being hit in the face by a car. I've got some breathing room, but I thought it was time to build some defenses for Zumi. My solution was an electrical defense system I found the blueprints for in some soaked tomb or another. While non-lethal, it is an effective deterrent for when bone sharks mistake me for food. It does not, however, help when I mistakenly run Zumi aground while investigating the alien laser facility. It took me a full 20 minutes to move it back into the water. Speaking of, I successfully activated the island's portal only to find it leads to the Ball Island and not anywhere helpful. Disappointment took me home to my bed. It was there that something spoke to me. Well, two things spoke to me. One with glowy brain words. That was startling. It asked what I am, but didn't respond to my answer of "Ah!" So manners must be different on this planet. The other people who talked to me were the radio voice who wanted a ham sandwich. They told me where to find a rocket ship schematic. It's odd having a path off this planet. As I stare contemplatively through the impractical number of windows in my house, I find myself torn. Should I leave this home I've made for myself? Do I want to? It's mood anyway, thanks to this very itchy housewarming gift this planet gave me. Maybe that should be my priority. Stay or go. It would be nice to leak less. Day 40-something. Ruminations of a Subnautical Man. I looked into the face of a god today. Hell, it turns out, is only a kilometer down. The ocean's inscrutable depths are as terrifying as they are deadly, but through hell I may find salvation. I found the very limits of Zumi's abilities. I named it Zumi the First because I figured its death was guaranteed and I should build iteration into its naming convention from the get-go, but it has proven more resilient than anticipated. Several unique discoveries prompted the excursion, but the deeper I dove, the stranger it got. The quest for more uraninite led to an underwater river of poison full of predators that have all measured me as lunch. Luckily, Zumi is yet too spicy with its defense system, and that has been my saving grace. Crab squids, brain blasters, zappy eels, even the ghost of God can't stand the taste. Odd to be stymied by a number on a meter. I found my second alien facility, long ruined and sunk to the ocean floor. Within, my worst fears were confirmed. The whole planet is quarantined due to what I now know for sure is the virus with which I am infected. These radically advanced aliens failed to cure it, but this lab mentioned a creature they called a Sea Emperor, possessing something they called Enzyme 42, that held a hope of a curative. The crux? I must reach its containment facility, which, according to this, is at 1,400 meters, and this brings me back to Zumi. God is a ghost, but also a fruit, it seems, because it comes from a tree. The tree itself is gorgeous, so much so I erected an operating base here. This chamber dips below 900 meters, but some careful scouting has shown a deeper cavern beyond. I have hopes this will lead me to the Emperor. I fought one of the gods. Zumi's Pikachu impression impressed it, but the stasis rifle I found in a box with a hoverfish left it speechless. Afterward, I gave it a good probing, then chose not to press my luck and left. I may be itchy and leaky, but I am mighty. And now, as before, my goal is to venture deeper. Without the comfort of Zumi, I'm forced to shift to a more robust craft. I've focused my resources on upgrading Gypsy Dang It to function as a support vehicle. As good as Gypsy is at what she does, though, making such a trek with just her feels ill-advised. Because of this, I have begun full preparation to bring my biggest submersible yet, as has always been the case. When questing through the sea or fleeing the jaws of death, never leave home without Roy Schneider. Some day or another. Burning Subnautical Man. Where even to begin with the events of the previous few days? Roy Schneider is very large and difficult to navigate. She's also power hungry, and carrying several extra power cells is a must, but the voyage has proved successful nonetheless. The impracticality of returning to the surface has led me to perform much mining and construction in the midst of the God Tree, but I don't think it minds. The construction was due to what I found in the layer beyond it, a strange blue gem that has unparalleled heat-absorbing abilities. Upgrades to Roy Schneider and Gypsy Dangit have made deeper delving through the intense heat and pressure possible, which meant greater infrastructure was needed down below. Luckily, resources here are plentiful, and this has been successful. I was heartened moving forward, but that did not last. There are creatures down here that make the prior gods look like children. I am further convinced they are not truly gods, but that I am a mere bug playing at being something greater, and they seem so by comparison. Without the combat prowess of Zumi at hand, my options are limited, and decoys and shields have become my way of life. Even so, these dragons have put the hurt on Roy Schneider and made me think hard about how to approach this. I see why they recommend 3 people to run this craft. Unfortunately, Gypsy Dangit has yet to become autonomous, and my attempts to train peepers to operate machinery have been fruitless, so juggle this alone I must. Below the lava, it turned out, is more lava. This magma lake is home to yet another of these daggum dragons, but something else altogether. A citadel lies here that I believe to be the Emperor facility spoken of before. The crux? It won't let me in. I need a tablet that I've yet to find to gain entry. Frustrating as this is, I remember mention of a thermal power plant that should be somewhere around here. I will take the Schneider back up to seek it. I wish myself luck. A different, or perhaps the same, day? I need to get the number for the Volcano Way Patrol, because I swear if this mother-flippering sea dragon sideswipes me one more California driving time, I'm gonna climb right out of Roy Schneider and use my stun gun and fire knife to revoke its swimmer's license one scale at a time. It wouldn't be such a problem if I could just find this fabled underwater thermal plant, but I've been doing laps for what feels like 6 sea trucking days without a single sight of... Hey, I found it. There was a large igneous structure in the middle of this cavern that had the most restrained and minimalist door I've seen these aliens yet produce, hidden behind a dried lava flow. Within, much more research material and a blue tablet promises to open the door ahead of me. Now, back through that pahoho-sucking dragon, I guess. Today, probably. The mortality of the Subnautical Man. What do you call a god of gods? A thing that's older than time wants my help and offers its in return. What can you say to a god but yes? Is it truly speaking to me? Gypsy thinks so, but Roy is unconvinced. For now, I move forward. At least this place has a portal junction leading to the surface. It's time for Roy to head into the light. The blue heat rock was what I needed to complete the escape rocket. Today I christened the Stamper, and thanks to no small amount of vanity, I already had on hand what the Emperor of Gods required to make her godlings. I will return to help her, and hopefully in doing so, help myself. She said she would, after all, and why would God lie? The last day. A subnautical man, no more. God is dead. Long live the gods. I am free. The itch and the leak are gone. The alien cannon that destroyed my ship, murdered my crew, and wiped out the Sunbeam and all souls aboard has been disabled. The Stamper is loaded with food, water, and diamonds. Having exceeded my every expectation, Zumi the First has been rechristened Zumi the Great. I left some ion power cells and a knife in a capsule in case anyone else finds themselves stranded here, though hopefully with the virus cured and the cannon disabled, nothing like what I have experienced will ever happen again. Now, as I sit in the pilot's seat of the Stamper preparing for takeoff, I wonder, what is a man if not subnautical? Is he just man? Was he always thus? I believe such things are for those smarter than I to decide, though I suppose it is now my inauspicious duty to find out. For now, I go amongst the stars. The Subnautical Man, signing off. What I just read was adapted from a journal I actually kept during my first playthrough of Subnautica and to send to my buddy Roscoe, who recommended me the game by way of buying it for me. The entries mirror my own feelings as I was drawn further and further into the sublime horrors of the deep, delving through each layer of the mysteries of 4546B like a murderous parfait, which are demonstrably superior to onions. There are few games that suck me into them so deep that their influence bleeds over into my real life. I can count on one hand how many times I know it's happened, and there's a single through line in all examples. Games that prioritize atmosphere, character, and story are the ones that stay with me long after credits roll. Subnautica is, at its core, a survival crafting game, but I find that label reductive. That could just be because there are only 3, maybe 4 survival crafters that have ever really grabbed me, but this is certainly one of them, and the crafting had nothing to do with it. I was just so sucked in by the world. The art, sound, and light paint a vibrant, living picture that makes it a feast for my senses every second. The world exists in utter indifference for whether or not you survive, while the things that populate it work tirelessly to see you to the earliest possible grave. I know Subnautica has been around so long that it's pretty much everyone who's going to play it has, but with Subnautica 2 nearing its early access release despite some admittedly rather major setbacks, and the first just getting a surprisingly good mobile release, I think it's as good a time as any to remind people what a wonderful experience it was. For now, this is but one Subnautical Man, bidding you farewell. And as for Below Zero, well, I'm not going to make a whole video on it because I can't be asked, but I will say that everything in the water is delightful just like it is in Subnautica 1, but everything seems to sink in the game as soon as the iceberg comes into play. You know, just like the Titanic. What? Too soon?